Good morning, Virgo. Thank you for being here today. I'm Anna from Virgo. Someone has been observing you more carefully than you realize, tracking your movements, your patterns, your interactions with others, all while maintaining facade of casual disinterest or appropriate distance. Uh, they're not watching the way friends watch friends or the way colleagues stay aware of each other in shared spaces. They're fixated, studying you, building detailed understanding of who you are, what you want, how you operate. And they're doing it silently because speaking would expose the intensity. This isn't healthy interest that someone's comfortable owning publicly. This is obsession they're managing privately, desire that's grown beyond what they feel they can appropriately express. So they've been containing it through observation instead of action, through consuming information about you instead of actually engaging with you directly in ways that would reveal how much mental real estate you occupy. Let me describe what silent obsession actually looks like when someone's executing it. It looks like them always knowing things about you they shouldn't know unless they've been paying extremely close attention. They reference things you mentioned once in passing weeks ago. They know your schedule without you having shared it explicitly. They're aware of changes in your life, your mood, your situation before you announce those changes broadly. That level of retention and awareness doesn't happen accidentally. That's someone who's prioritizing information about you, who's filing away details, who's treating learning you like project they're dedicated to completing. Or it looks like them being present in your spaces with frequency that seems coincidental until you map the pattern. Same coffee shop at same time you're there. Same events you attend. Same online spaces you occupy. Always with plausible reason for being there. But the consistency reveals intention. They've learned your patterns and they're positioning themselves in your path, hoping for interaction while maintaining deniability about seeking that interaction deliberately. Or it looks like emotional responses to your life that are disproportionate to actual relationship between you. They're genuinely happy when good things happen to you, visibly bothered when you're struggling or when someone treats you poorly, affected by your romantic situations in ways that betray investment that goes beyond platonic concern. Those reactions leak through even when they're trying to appear neutral because emotions this strong are hard to completely suppress. Some people are skilled at hiding obsession for extended periods. They can perform casual. They can maintain appropriate boundaries behaviorally, even while violating every boundary mentally and emotionally. They can act like you're just another person in their world while internally you've become the person their world revolves around. But obsession can't stay purely internal forever. Eventually, it demands expression, and that's where the move they didn't plan to make comes in. Let's pause here. This reflection invites you to consider whose attention towards you has felt more intense than the actual relationship between you would justify. Maybe someone who asks too many questions, who wants to know details about your life that go beyond what casual conversation requires, who probes gently but persistently about your relationships, your plans, your feelings, your preferences. That interrogation disguised as interest is information gathering. They're building profile, creating detailed map of who you are because they're obsessed with understanding you completely. Or someone whose energy shifts noticeably when you're around. They become more alert, more engaged, more present, or conversely, they become more careful, more controlled, more obviously managing their behavior because they don't trust themselves to be natural around you without revealing too much. That hypervigilance in your presence, whether expressed as heightened engagement or heightened control, signals that you affect them more than they want you to know. Or someone who's unusually affected by your attention or lack thereof. When you engage with them, they light up. When you don't, they visibly dim. When you give attention to others, especially romantic or intimate attention, they struggle to hide reaction. That emotional volatility based on your behavior toward them reveals dependency that's characteristic of obsession rather than healthy interest. This reflection invites you to consider who becomes notably different when you're present versus when you're not. There's something specific about what desire means in this context because obsession and desire aren't always sexual or romantic, though they often are. This person wants something from you or from connection with you. They want your attention, your validation, your time, your energy. They want to be close to you, to matter to you, to occupy space in your life that matches the space you occupy in theirs. Or they want possession not in creepy ownership sense necessarily, but in the sense of wanting exclusivity, wanting to be the person you turn to, the person you trust, the person who understands you. They want primacy in your life, even though they have no legitimate claim to that position. Or the desire is romantic or sexual, and they've been suppressing it because circumstances make it inappropriate or impossible. Maybe you're not available, maybe they're not available. Maybe power dynamics or social dynamics or professional dynamics make pursuit inadvisable. So they've been managing the desire through distance and silence, through watching instead of touching, through wanting instead of having. But managed desire doesn't dissipate just because it's not being expressed. Often it intensifies. The denial feeds it. The secrecy makes it more powerful. The fantasy built in silence becomes more potent than reality might ever be because fantasy has no constraints, no complications, no disappointing human messiness. And intensified desire eventually demands outlet, which brings us to the unplanned move. This reflection invites you to consider, what do you think someone who's been silently obsessed with you might want if they finally spoke? Let me describe what move they didn't plan to make actually means, because this is about loss of control, about their careful management of their obsession failing at moment when circumstances make silence unsustainable. Maybe something triggers them into action. They see you with someone else and jealousy overrides restraint. They see opportunity closing you, moving away, entering serious relationship, some change that means their window for expressing what they feel is closing, and panic replaces strategy. Or you do something that makes them feel seen in a way they haven't felt seen before, and that recognition breaks their resolve to stay silent. The trigger creates urgency that overwhelms whatever reasoning kept them quiet before. And they act, confess feelings, make physical move, create situation that forces you to acknowledge what's been happening beneath surface of your interactions. Or the move is accidental. They slip up, say something that reveals too much, react in a way that exposes the obsession they've been hiding. Get caught doing something that makes the watching obvious, following your social media too closely, being somewhere they have no reason to be, knowing something they could only know through surveillance level attention. And once the slip happens, they can't take it back. The secret is exposed. You know now that their interest isn't casual, that their attention has been focused and consuming, that you've been object of fixation you weren't aware of. Or the move is calculated but not planned in advance. Something happens in a moment you're alone together. Emotional situation creates opening. Alcohol or other disinhibition lowers their filter and they make decision in that moment to speak or ACT even though they hadn't planned to. They've been thinking about it hypothetically, maybe playing scenarios in their mind, but they hadn't decided to actually do it until suddenly they are doing it, until words are coming out or hands are moving or distance is being closed in ways they can't pretend are accidental. The unplanned nature doesn't make it less real, sometimes makes it more real because it's unfiltered by strategy, uncensored by fear of consequence, just raw expression of what they've been containing. This reflection invites you to consider: how would you want someone to reveal obsessive feelings, planned conversation where they've thought through what to say, or spontaneous confession in moment of intensity? Let me address what you might need to do when this move happens, because receiving someone's obsessive desire is complicated regardless of whether you reciprocate. If you've been hoping for this, if you've suspected their feelings and you share those feelings, the revelation might feel like relief. Finally, everything's in the open. Finally, you can explore what's been hovering unspoken between you. But even wanted revelation requires careful navigation because obsession isn't the same as healthy love, and intensity isn't the same as sustainability. You need to evaluate whether what they're expressing is desire for actual you or desire for fantasy version they've constructed through observation without real intimacy. Do they love who you are in complicated human reality, or who you are in their imagination where you're perfect solution to their needs? That distinction matters enormously for whether relationship built on this foundation could actually work. If you don't share the feelings, if this confession or move is unwanted, you need to be clear immediately, not cruel, but unambiguous. I don't feel the same way, or I'm not interested in romantic sexual relationship with you, stated directly without softening qualifiers that leave hope where none should exist. Unclear rejection. I'm not looking for a relationship right now, or maybe someday, or I really value our friendship, gives obsessive people permission to keep hoping, keep waiting, keep investing in possibility that doesn't exist. And you need to establish boundaries around the behavior that accompanied the obsession. If they've been watching you in ways that cross privacy lines, if they've been showing up in your spaces too frequently, if they've been gathering information about you through inappropriate means, those behaviors need to stop, regardless of how you feel about the person. Obsession that's been indulged through silence can escalate when acknowledged. Being clear about acceptable versus unacceptable behavior protects both of you. If the move makes you feel unsafe, if intensity of their fixation frightens you, if their inability to control themselves seems dangerous, if history suggests they might not respect boundaries, you need to take that seriously. Tell people you trust. Document concerning behavior. Create distance. Involve authorities if necessary. Most people experiencing obsessive feelings aren't dangerous, but some are. And distinguishing between harmless intensity and threatening fixation is critical. This reflection invites you to consider, is less than #0. 5 is greater than if someone revealed obsessive feelings for you. Would your first emotion be flattery, discomfort, reciprocation, or fear? There's something about what happens after the unplanned move that determines whether this becomes foundation for a relationship or just awkward moment you both have to recover from. If feelings are mutual and you choose to explore connection, the obsessive quality needs to transform into healthy interest or the relationship will be toxic from foundation. Obsession is about the obsessed person's needs. Love is about both people's needs. If they can't shift from I need you to complete me to I want to build with you, the relationship won't work. You'll need to watch for whether they can actually see you as separate person with your own needs and boundaries, or whether they just want you to fulfill role they've assigned you in their internal narrative. You'll need to watch for whether they can handle you being human, having bad days, making mistakes, having needs that conflict with theirs, or whether they need you to stay perfect fantasy object. If feelings aren't mutual and you've declined, you'll need to watch for whether they can actually accept that rejection or whether they interpret it as temporary obstacle to overcome. Healthy people accept no. Obsessive people often hear no as not yet or convince me. If they escalate after rejection, more contact, more presence in your spaces, more attempts to change your mind that's not persistence, that's disrespect of your stated boundary and it needs to be addressed firmly. The friendship or acquaintanceship you had before the move might not be salvageable. Asymmetrical feelings create asymmetrical experiences that make continued closeness painful for one or both people. That's not failure, that's just reality of how confession changes dynamics. You can't unknow that someone's been obsessed with you, and they can't return to casual interaction after revealing depth of their fixation. Something fundamental has shifted. You remain in complete control of how you respond when someone's silent obsession becomes vocal move. You can reciprocate or decline, explore or retreat, set boundaries or allow closeness. All valid depending on your feelings and your safety. The power is yours. It always has been. You may notice reading this has brought someone specific to mind, someone whose attention has felt too focused, someone who you've suspected has deeper feelings than they've expressed, someone whose behavior has been just slightly off in ways you couldn't name but felt uncomfortable about. Whatever you're feeling, honor it. Take what resonates, softly release the rest, trust yourself. Before we close, I want to ask you something. Has anyone ever revealed that they'd been obsessed with you for a period of time? And did learning that feel flattering or uncomfortable? Drop your experience in the comments if you're willing. And this, if you discovered someone was watching you more closely than you realized, would you confront them or just create distance? They are watching you in silence, obsession and desire building, and a move they didn't plan to make is coming. And when it happens, when their control breaks and truth spills out through confession or action or accident, you're going to have to navigate the reality that someone has been fixated on you in ways you weren't fully aware of. Not eventually, soon, the silence is about to break. Trust yourself with this. Trust your instincts about whether attention feels safe or threatening. Trust your right to set boundaries regardless of their feelings. Trust that you don't owe reciprocation just because someone has been wanting you intensely. Trust that being desired obsessively isn't the same as being loved healthily. See you in the next one, and listen when someone's obsession with you becomes undeniable. Your safety and comfort matter more than their feelings. Protect yourself first. Be kind second if you can, but never reverse that order. Stay boundaried. Stay aware. Stay safe. Someone's watching closer than you know. Be ready when they reveal themselves. Take care.